founder, the endowed, transcendent
No,
destroyer,
no,
the one gone beyond, the fade
no,
destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sagata, non-controlled, supreme guardian of the means to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the shackling life, I prostrate my confidence and my refuge to the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the fade destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sagata, non-controlled, supreme guardian of the means to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the shackled clay, I prostrate my confidence and my refuge to the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the fade destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sagata, non-controlled, supreme guardian of the means to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the shackled clay, I prostrate my confidence and my refuge, who knows supreme amongst you as your born on this earth. You paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Saviour having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 every devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bound with bodies as many as all realms atoms in all aspects, with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly, as the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings penetrate all spheres, subdue the 12 worlds and be delivered from samsara's ocean. Return, like the waves of aging sickness and death. To page 15 for the master perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Arahant who said, Thus did I hear at one time, the longest dwelling known as the longest mountain of Africa, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the battlegrounds of souls in the concentration of the categories of phenomena called the Tao of perfection. Also at that time, the bodhisattva Mahasattvā Arahant Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those high aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattvā Arahant Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train, who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom, he said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattvā Arahant Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage will fulfill the need, who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom, should look upon the practice correctly and repeatedly, beholding those fine aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition or practice and conscience are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness. without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration, without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Tayata, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should trade in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that, it is like that. Like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoiced. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadaviputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding in their entirety along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. To page 25 for the short mandala. Boshi Zuje Medata Ira Blinjin Yede Genpati Sangye Shindo Mete Waji Soko Namda Shingla Chopasho Jetsa Lama Dhamma Jenanje Chugyo Kala Cheze Chichine Chetara Sambe Duche Mala Sabye Chugi Chaga Kaptu So Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kamiriya Tayami Sanje Chetan Soji Chanamba Chancho Badu Dani Chapsuchi Dagi Chijin Jive Sonamji Dora Pinche Sanje Tuha Sanje Chetan Soji Chanamba Chancho Badu Dani Chapsuchi Dagi Chijin Jive Sonamji Dora Pinche Sanje Tuha Sanje Chetan Soji Chanamba Chancho Badu Dani Chapsuchi Dagi Chijin Jive Sonamji Dora Pinche Sanje Tuha Kange Denjen Do Jong Mewa Jimewa Chewa Mewa Damewa Uwa Mewa Tume Tade de Me de Jime Do Nishi Dewa Zoga Sanje Mananje Damba de La Cha Zelo Dunye Nye Sunde Jewe La Jishi Zega Chidin Joka Chana Vema Dinze Jasa So de Za Jende Lunda Sho Bande Zega La Maramba Jenda Kichuru Bende de Jende Kodi Jime Kunesh Kusan Tu Jengu Do Zedo So Hada Unzu Kuno Komji Japro Da Ni Sunju Di Chunye Da Tue Samdaya Di Shenla Pemba Tuya Chidi Di Chidi Nye Chudi Nyingi Yu Sambechi Kuno
Assuming the correct motivation that one will listen or hear or reflect on this Buddha Dharma with the intention to benefit others, so motivate accordingly.
Hoya, da gawa gom, tiri. Mikse yang chik lamrim tole, tewa chiki chungwa di, gewa sambo yin, tiri.
Yeah. Rejoicing in that mind, today one has the fortune again to listen to the LamRim, rejoicing in that fortune.
Da dungi nanga, choji gewa seta chewa shuyo, tita kuzung duka chinlap. Lamrim dokwa gyula geya, pajaya tuzu pata, susu yuli di. Tita kuzung duka chinlap, chuksong chenpe kone di. Lamrim nyongwe di, kizing di.
No. So once again, we visualize in the space in front the kind root guru in the aspect of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, enlightened beings, and from their three doors of body, speech, and mind come blessings which enter into us, removing the obstacles to gaining insights into the LamRim, and we receive the blessings of body, speech, and mind therein. And as we do that visualization, we shall recite the verses up to and including perfect human rebirth, I guess. Yeah.
I bow my
Head to you, foremost of the Shakyas, whose body is formed by 10 million perfections, virtues, and excellence, whose speech fulfills the hopes of infinite transmigratory beings, whose mind pervades all objects of knowledge. I prostrate to Manjushri and Maitreya in innumerable universes, assuming the responsibility of all the conqueror's conduct. You are the supreme sons of the peerless teacher. I prostrate at the feet of Nagarjuna and Asana from Jambudipa, renowned throughout the three levels, who compose commentaries in accordance with the intention of the Mother of Conquerors, so hard to fathom.
I bow to
Dipankara Atisha,
holder of the treasury
instructions that gathers together important points completely and unmistakably of the paths of the profound view and wise conduct. The excellent religious descending from the great charioteers, I prostrate respectfully to the spiritual teachers, eyes that see the infinite scriptures,
who with skillful means moved by compassion
clarify the supreme entryway for the fortunate traveling to liberation. The stages of the path to enlightenment,
are the excellent lineage handed down from Nagarjuna
and
and
Asanga,
Sangha,
crown ornaments of the wise of Jambudipa, and banners of fame resplendent among transmigratory beings. This instruction, the king of powerful jewels, fulfills all the desired aims of the 9 types of beings.
It is an
Ocean of glorious and excellent explanations, gathering the rivers, 1,000 fine scriptures. Through it, you can realize that all the teachings are without contradiction. Understand all the scriptures as an instruction
easily find the intention
of the conqueror and be protected from the abyss of very faulty conduct.
Therefore,
The supreme
instruction is
relied upon fortunate ones, the wise beings of India and Tibet.
What analytical person would not be captivated by the stages of the path of the 3 types of beings? Contemplate
the meaning of this method that gathers the essence of all the scriptures. Even teaching or hearing a single session definitely gathers great waves, symbol benefits of explaining or listening to the Holy Dharma. Rely correctly and with effort in thought and action on the holy spiritual friend, the teacher of the path,
and the foundation
of perfectly bringing auspiciousness for all excellent conditions of this and future lives. Having seen this, do not give them up, even at the cost of your life, and please them with the offering, practicing just as they instruct. You, the perfect Guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, also practice in this way.
Is body a pleasure or
Precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel is found but once, though difficult to obtain.
It finishes as quickly as lightning in the sky, Having reflected in this way, realizing that all worldly activities are like wind and chaff, you must take its essence day and night. You, the perfect
Guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. Although there's no certainty to death, you will not be born in the bad migrations. The three rare sublime ones will definitely protect you from this fear.
Therefore, steadfastly take refuge in them, and never degenerate their precepts.
In addition, think well about the results
of black or white actions,
and depend
upon the correct practice of that to be adopted and that to be rejected. You, the perfect Guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice
in this way.
아야, 다음도 기진 아니 잠도기 처벌시베군에 접송스 페이지인데 인설로.
Yes.
다 처벌시베군에 접송아서 접도사의 유 접유초 심도 시기요로. 지상도 디 잠도사의 이기 동일을 접어치베 탑레로. 이 먼저 류지 동일라 아니지 두고도는 클라스에다 찬 두로 권야다. 권나는 고민사야도서 류지 동일세와 차고요로. 다 이기 동에 세워 치월라 아니 즉 삼lut 샤사지 유나 펜도고 요로 제단 딜라야 알라버드 지 이기 동에 지 동에 타고든데 요여 가돌라 삼lut 샤사 타버드 지 녀드 동에 당 신에 다 가와도 하고 매윈자 아니 군주선이야 로데 제비나 아니 디 수수 심디 게베초라 샤투고 요인자 아니 게베 데비 칸데 용고레 텐도 용거로 기베 두비 텐도다 미기베 두빙엔도 자기인데 네 잠도스야디 코던디 디레스와.
We left off by looking at refuge, and we're up to the stage where we look at going for refuge by knowing the distinctions of it, what qualifies it. So, in that sense, we're looking at refuge from the perspective, from the perspective of how the mind can be protected from a difficult state. So, for example, if the body we feel hungry, you can satiate it with food, or if you're sick, you can solve the sickness by taking medicines and so forth. But if it's a mental difficulty, one has to think on it in terms of mental attitude and solve it by the mind. So in that sense, one can think that the mind's direction is unsure. It is not sure where the mind will go. That could be anywhere. It could be the difficult rebirths, the unfortunate realms. Well, we know that in that sense, then, we are encouraged in light of Dharma to practice virtues, because virtues result in a fortunate rebirth. Conversely, non-virtues result in a difficult rebirth. So we are looking at refuge under those notions.
제단다 딜라야네 케와시베군에 접스토와스도 군조송기 케와라. 다 접스트제 유디 케와라고 가려라. 윤데로 가려라. 이게 시구요로. 딜라야다 도원에 중고다 군조 숨남편적이 케와시바들. 대전 투도와.
Yeah. So really what we're looking at is taking refuge by knowing the distinctions, meaning that what are the qualities of the three sublime ones that they possess that we can go to refuge by understanding them, particularly compared to outsider.
딜라 툴레 당고 친이레 주에 케와세도 친이세도 다 된다디 뭐부터 시기요로. 산제 군조에 가려서 넘바족과 네 장주에 친이 넘바족과다. 넘바족과스도 원도 그 용시와 장추와스도 장춥세도 장세야디 에네 지경 그리 탑제 파창 로 쩐 랑진지다. 아니 녀모마다 시제되어 바자드시와 파창 매버차 춥세야디네 윤덴 타다 용스 쪽된 요들라 장춥세고로 세상디 산제 군조세야디 응오세야디 어딘데지 요레스고로.
So, looking from the perspective of the Compendium of Determinations, this text, then we go for refuge, understanding the distinctions of the three sublime ones, which has 6 headings. The first is the distinctions based on their defining characteristics. First, we'll look at the Buddha jewel, which is Chang Chup. So these 2 words, Bodhi, Chang Chup. Chang, the first one means that quality of the Buddha is that all faults have been cleared away completely, such as afflictions and self-cherishing and so forth, completely vanquished. And latterly Chup, all of the qualities have been completed, or the knowledge that can be taken as far as nos.
다 최군저 대대부 송도 대대부는 산제군저 대부에 송을 다 산제군저 대부 간대 자서는 규타대 세워는 규타대 배나 나랑저 규래야 최군저 제야대 안다자도 마샤제도에 최송바다 최송바 딜레데네 아니 간저게 규래 최군저 제와대 산제 샤제도에 대부 차송하다 한도 규타대 규타대기 아니 최송발라데네 먼저 줄에 추군저 개와 인상 아티데브 세야데 당저지 추군정은에 가르서는 단단한절라 추군저 요마라 추군정은에디 어느 돈이고선 도바당 요마방배 방법 곡된도 들어봐 디 돈이고선 방법 방법은 돈이 도고라 돈이 도고라 시고라 시벌라 퇴고라 퇴사디 산지행전에 퇴용의 요인자 아니 산지행 되버려서 고된데 디데브 세야데
The second distinction based on their enlightened activities of the Dharma jewel in terms of cause and effect. The result being that, the cause is different from the result in the sense that the cause is the enlightened activity, the result is the Dharma that is taught. And with us too, there's like a causal and resultant refuge. So the causal refuge being Buddha, but the real result is, once again, that Dharma jewel that we cultivate in our own minds. For that to be a reality, for the wisdom consciousness realizing emptiness to manifest for us as that Dharma jewel, first we have to know it. In order to know it, we have to study about it. In order to study about it, we have to hear about it. In order to hear, we're talking about the qualities of true cessation, where all of the objects to be abandoned are abandoned. And then in order to hear about it, we need to hear it from a Buddha. So these are cause and result.
다들 긴두군저스디 신이 명아 양다고 두베치니 최선 신이 명아시 신가래 아니 산제 좀 된데기 명아 양다고 두월라 체네 아니 긴두군저 최선 당기 추군저디 율레데메 간산데 파웨 간산데 긴두군저와 디야 신이 당아 랍제 잡셔마제데 다 명아세데 랍자 당 아니 달 하과딩원저 남배초이나 왕롱 명아티다 디제디 개겐스네 년고로 개겐데 저디스 다자도 마샤제도로 단다 디명아로 어디 님벌 데네 아니 초양다 버tum이 데려야 아니 근두근조스리오레서 왔다
The third, different distinction is the Sangha community, and here they are, how would you say, specified or qualified as having taken the advice or followed the advice of the Buddha and realized it in their mental continuums, realized the truth. So therefore, not only the advice that Buddha gave, but when we go to our teachers, we receive initiations, transmissions, instructions, oral transmissions, experiential ones, all of these special instructions, when they are heard and cultivated in terms of knowing, become that Sangha community.
다드네 니와 틸레기 개발세 틸레세데 가라서나 그 틸레디 시거도 산제기 틸레 추군조 틸레 긴두군조 틸레 가래 디고네 간도 디윤데 틸레디 시나 디고네 딜레 잡들 펜도 용고로다
And then the quality of enlightened activity, understanding what a Buddha can do with spontaneous enlightened activity as opposed to other refuges, objects.
틸레 저와디 아니 림바다 산제기 롱보고 시그레 산제기 마롱 롱송제르바 산제기 땅안저 단다서 방안저 지요야 되르바 롱단 티다 명아 그 롱마 보고 시그레스 아니 최군적이 가르치 것은 녀모다 동해 봉화를 미고 레스 다다래다. 로 최군적이 또 동영무슨 또 연데 녀모다 동해 봉화를 미고 되시. 아니 근두군적이 틸레로 가르치는 원바 또와 치베 틸레진스. 다 수수 아니 지 개와두벨라 또와지와 마세 뒤제 신이야. 아니 지 개와치야라 또와요 되죠. 다 당어서 최두에 다도 도보.
So each of these three rare sublime ones under this heading of enlightened activity has a particular quality that makes it distinct. So the first one of the Buddha jewel, in terms of enlightened activity, what does the Buddha do? The Buddha gives these transmissions of the truth and, transmissions, teachings and so forth from the speech. Secondly, the Dharma jewel is, its enlightened activity is that, the afflictions and their seeds are completely removed by cultivating the wisdom consciousness, realizing emptiness. So that distinguishes that is the actual enlightened activity of the second jewel. And finally, the Sangha who have those insights in their minds are the support or help we look to cultivate such insights. No.
다드네 숨바 메베치와 메바스나 되바스나로와 메바 그래서나 메베치와 그래서나 산제군조디 림바다 닝구라 쿠베심바 로와 제단 산제군조디 상싱기 녀구라 가게요 말이다 두베치발라 통얘기요 상싱기 쳐발라 통얘 메녀바는 거다 상싱기 쳐 닝구 아니 펠레셰니도 저 가게요 말다 산다 도도들어.
The next is the distinction based on devotion, where you have devotion on the three rare sublime ones, and serve them therein, but serving not just with, material things, but essentially this point is about cultivating the teaching in terms of realizations by following the advice. That's the devotion.
ane 최근저디 뭔데 차월라 구베신 몰라는데 아니 다 덴바도바당 니난게 도바도 송원데 쇼가데 야라 아니 셴바 도고요 레스로.
So 양규 주기 kunchola 똑바든서
뭔데 차월라 구바선 덴지당 니난게 투바당 도졸라 아니 셴바치야드스 파 아니 가기요 레스로.
So devotion of the Dharma jewel, it is when you start to aspire to get rid of these clingings to true existence and abandon dualistic fixation, when you believe that's possible and you go for it.
다 긴두근저디 최든중고보다 현직도 도발라 가워치가 그러죠. 최기 계제신이 미드스 님들라야다 가워치 최다 미드니게 계자다 두저다 체데나 발랍지견이 녀면 줘도줄라 아니 가워치다 두저를 편도요 말아다 두저털라로 와라 제가 대문에로 와다 긴두근저디 간서 최두니게 도보로선다 아니 최기 자와당 최진예다 최기 계제신이 되줄라 도부디 저거체 랍지견이즈니 아니 최다 미드음바체 최다 미드음바 잡도냐 되줄라 아니 신바 텔도바 소라.
Okay, so now devotion or the distinction of the appreciating the Sangha community as those one should follow because they have similar proclivities, similar ideas that you have, and they will support yours. So if that, we need that, don't we? We need the Sangha who think in a similar way to us, to support us on the path. If we in fact rely on the opposite with people who are counterproductive to our practice, it will be difficult. So similar attributes to one's own.
어디래도 다들 내용 맛이 최든지 두배체와들어도다.
Yep.
두배체와디 아니 가르스나 림바터 쳐바다 림루다 nenjorji 콤바다 최다 산신지 론줄로 미디미로 하나 다 더더러시 림보다 쳐봐서 두에 쳐봐라 니와당 믹스에 쳐다 산지르 봐 아니 림도 림도 세야디 데려와다 닝구루 산제 수수라 지 라마당 아니 군조당 텐델레 림도 심진라 아니 지강에 유니는 짐바다야 데졸레 림도 거쳐고 여러 어딘데 세야디 근데 제발 때네 아니 가령 거래 산제 공부도 용고요 제가 두베 쳐버려 세야디
Now there's a distinction of the three rare sublime ones based on practice, how one should serve or practice according to one's guru's instructions. So you become familiar with the teachings and then apply yourself to it. So for example, generosity, helping beings that are in problems, poor and so forth, because these actions result in Buddhahood.
다드네 니 nenjoji jowa kombaso de chugunjo de nenjosen tönnemasır ba tönnemada kare 동반이로 봐 제가 이 chugunjo de 동반이 tönla 아니 jorba치고 인자 nenjo를 kombacha 와서
The yoga then that one should do with regards to the practice of yoga, one should do with regards to the second jewel of Dharma is that one should make effort to understand emptiness and realize it.
다 근두근저디 최단산 진지 롱주 투무지 도와줘 최최최네 투무디 롱주 상신 투무디 롱주 와쳐다 항상 최르베 다로 책을 여러 제가 다 근두근저디서다 지최 상신 롱제위네 랑진지당 아니 지지 코와신야당 어떤 일에 많이 받치지 그 최단 튠베 상신 롱제 용요 인자 아니 최단 상신 투무디 롱주가 거네 아니
Finally, with the Sangha community, one's practice should be cultivating relationship through sharing things with the Sangha community. But it's important that when one shares these things, tumba, they are with correct livelihood, got in accordance with Dharma.
That 내가 산제 줌된데 있었다. 산제 줌된데 제스 템플 때문에 가려 온 거라서나. 산제 제스 템플 때문에 지 마음 겨워 제마 산제의 신감라 제야다. 튼로질라 겨울렘베이나 산제의 최 산제에서 산제의 육구단 된대제사. 된대게 산제 지den세야 돼. 지상도 산제의 지den세야 되다. 레긴 되어서고 여러 제단디 개침불에도 알아.
The next distinction is based on recollection. So when, for example, let's say whatever birth, you see the figure of an enlightened being such as a Buddha, even if an animal comes across it, it is reminding that being of the qualities of an enlightened one, and there's a karmic connection therein.
제가 최제스 좀 써야 돼. 내 산지에 최투벌 되네 마음바. 최투연디 람상 직 배신야. 가시 더 배낭하나서 디진더로 샤이나 잠도께서 쉐거다 미상몰라도더라. 그래서 아니 나기 산지에지된 최진디 기디지된기 바자매베다 된거로. 딜레기 데부디 투고이베다 된거 그래서 아니 다딘데기니 최군조 퇴퇴버디나 마음발라서 레그 도셔야다 아니 최퇴베이나 가오셔야다 최통다 신야라 바자셔기 여러 딘데기 지den치야도 저서 켜와딘데도
This is talking about the distinction based on recollection, meaning that one understands the three rare sublime ones due to the power of recollection. So we just talked about seeing an image of Buddha. What about the Dharma? It is, that when you hear it, having heard it before, those qualities are, the imprints are awakened, if you will. So, for example, people in this class listening to the qualities of refuge, planting thick imprints around that. When again they hear these teachings in the future, they will have a recollection of having heard that teaching, the Dharma jewel, having heard that, and then they, upon awakening those imprints, there will be a joy around it. No.
아니 긴두 근조 대다로 긴두 근조래 아니 지페 긴두기 될 아니 지 다딩상 딘데글에 사면은 타오다 아니 뇽뇽뇽뇽도다 야 딩상 가서나 nga chö chi me mi ngwa nga chö me chö che ne she na ro chi da da de da ta ta ring ring ro je da de chö da ji je gin yu gun jo la ka wa chi ni me de nyu nyu ru a ta da ani chi nyu nyu de le gi tong ju nyu je re da ting sa ro da ra zo jo do ai na nga chö me da chö me da so je pe she na ro shi chi da sim ding ne pa ta ring bu do go yo ro 개와 될어도 개와 제말래도 아도 두세 개와네 개와 최든 다른 링링으로 도에 레사도 당하나도 우두르 잡지해야 돼. त्यांची 콜레콜레 다 녀르 도야라 펜도 지가지고 당하나도 디고 당하나도 갈래 잡아대. 지난해 미스스 미상마 수수수 타제버데 디게 있으고 이내야 디게 여람네 디게 아마라운도 북경 링볼라 펜도 가르도면도 뒤따오라라.
And with regards to Sangha community recollection, it is like the monks and nuns these days are becoming less. And, you know, there's kind of a reticence of people to follow a spiritual path. You know, some people don't like the notion of practicing the Dharma in this life. You know, and then some people will say, oh, I don't have a faith at all that I follow. And that view is quite prevalent in the West. And the thing about that is, if you have that strong decision in this life that you don't have a particular persuasion or faith, that carries on and on in the future. So what happens is there's a danger there that you will become further and further away from a valid faith or away from Dharma. But we ourselves are trying to do the opposite. We are trying to put effort into a valid path and come closer to that, isn't it? By, you know, supporting the ordained or being ordained in that. But then I guess you could say it's really your choice. Of course, it is personal choice. But having said that it's your choice, what we're doing is trying to take a much longer term view, not just the choice of this life, but a choice of a series of lives. No. Yeah.
What question?
I was just going to ask a question about the Sangha, because the word Sangha is used in a lot of contexts.
Oh, right. You want to know if it's the ordained or just all of us here?
Well, technically it's an Arya being with the truth of path or cessation in their mind stream, but
right.
Of course that's not happening. So then there's like actual ordained people who've got and you know rights and that sort of stuff.
Yep, Sutram.
And then there's people like the rest of us in the room here who are all, you know, striving in our own way, and we're friends and supporters of each other in the Dharma. And sometimes that's called Sangha.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So I hope the question, are they online?
Yeah.
The question was, can we get some clarity around what defines Sangha? Because in fact, by strict definition, it is the Arya beings who have seen the truth, those Aryas. But then also sometimes it is said as people who have taken ordination, such as Chodek and so forth. But then also other people that are striving to support each other on the Dharma path, like us in this room. That's the question, isn't it? Kisla Kindengi Kunjok, the Sini Dangdem Barinji Minji Pakpa, Tongning Osum to Gore, Youngmana Chodek Nangshin, Yet Trang Nangshin, Trapa Chebere, Annie Chebere, Youngmana Nansu, Gomba Nangla, Chiki Chikla, Pinzin Rockpa Chegiko to Lamgi Tokpa Kyo Tang, Dinangshin Rive, Kare.
You done that day. Tubadi Sonam Pebe Chevase to after the dinner and a seven chasserty.
Ale.
The land in it, Yonser, Chana land in the Yonser. Then careers na
Okay.
Kansan the Chug on the Chive Sonam Chop Pays Lauda. Ne Sanje dan Kindunam Niwan Tion the Chive, Tian Kansan Chig the Mongola Demba Sonam Pevas. Kindulang Ewa Shi which Lauda.
Yeah.
Chedan de Kindusia de la Gelon Shiller Kindu Chig Lagora. Gelon Shiller. The Gizu Zigio Marada.
Okay.
Rabjung Division Zigio Marada. The Choda Rabjung Roa.
Yeah.
Gizu Marwa. Gelon la. Gelon Shi na. Kindu Chig so yorda.
Kindu chik.
Kindu said Gelon Shiller Kindu Chig Tanya Shigiora.
Convention. Yeah. Okay. So this question will be answered in the sixth distinction. I'll just make an apology here. We've been going through this text, and what I didn't realize was with each of the with each of the LamRim Chinmo texts of these six distinctions, each one's divided into Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. That's why if you're listing them by number, there might be a lot more. But anyway, we're up to this sixth one, and it's been mentioned that the answer to this question comes about if you look at it in terms of merit, in terms of helping and influencing others with the teaching and merit, this answer about Sangha comes in. But certainly it is said that to define one Sangha community is a gathering of 4 bhikshus. Not even like Chodak, who's not yet, Getzel, who's just Rabjung, preordained, but it has to be 4 bhikshus, and that's one Sangha community. Strictly. There's no other convention that will uphold Sangha. Now, when we talk about the Arya Gendumpa, the Arya, that's a one person, that's a different matter. We're talking about here a superior who's directly seen the truth. Yeah.
Kindu desa de inji minji ki gelon shi yunye ki kindu dezenji la kindu se tanya de chigre me shi jige tawa chig yo da ani chig yo le tanya chig mare chezo mija yo la da tanya khawa chigre ta de khase tanya de chewe ne bed lose chadu gora da mija la sanga la do khonje de sanga betuk sa da.
Okay. So coming back to not talking about Aryas, but coming back to this conventional definition of Sangha, it is that one needs these 4 bhikshus, but what we tend to have done in the Western countries is coined Sangha, just around whoever is ordained, and even sometimes including householders as well. It's a loose convention that we're using that's not quite correct. If we keep understanding that in that sense, it would be too loose and it would lose its validity to some sense. Yeah.
Translator
Yeah, I think these conventions are bandied about and kind of get different according to the interpreters and translators sometimes, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Tawadang ani diana gindu siadu gindu desadi jomde de gelon shila gindu chimish mixe tanya yomaro shinda kharlagi ngi amogo.
Yeah, well, these Gendupas, these Sanghas are the ordained monks and nuns, but it's been mentioned that Buddha said definitively that one Sangha community is 4 fully ordained monks.
Teacher tanda nzo phebejido tena tawashi gelonshi shabden ge jegdo di gendula nyingu che sonam sagiyora audition
that's why in the Tibetan communities, when they request a puja to be done, 4 bhikshus have to to be present to do it, because if you have that one gathering of the Sangha, the merit you get is from having a Sangha community present. Yeah.
그래도 단예도 배주지도 삽삽치고더라. 상상을 통다데 벨룩룩도다. 가지고라 배주 담한데 제 아니 제일 통다 상마 주도더라. 다디도 망고요라.
We have to be a little bit careful with the way we use conventions, because if they are, what's the word, inverse? If they're incorrect and we use them a lot, then the meaning can change. Yeah, but then we start to believe something that's not the case. Yeah, we start to believe what is not the case to be it. Yeah.
산제 군조 잡된 보다 최 군조 잡고 인도 군조 잡되게 따로 되게생 준다는 맛이 바로 다 이나디 디레 산제 군조 된거 개개나시로 잡된 바로 아니 최 군조도 수수기 신유나시 신유되게 수수로 좀 친구도 강해세도더라 아니 인도 군조 수수 진다직보다 시상다는 디고요.
Right, so now we're on to the stage of going through to refuge through the commitment you make to it. So this we've been through, essentially, when we say that the Buddha jewel is the teacher, the founder, the Dharma jewel is what is taught as the actual refuge jewel, and then finally the Sangha community support it. But in our case, we could say the teacher is the person that teaches us Dharma, and the second Dharma jewel for you is the insights, how far you've got with your study so far. And finally, we could say Sangha jewel is the ones we study with. We could say that. Now we have to go through the advice of it. What do you follow when you take refuge?
산제 군조들 접선에 아니 산제 군조 접선에 다 단다 두벌에 시주 테스트하면 마시자지 로셔 아시베 신이의 투모나 산제 접선에 람템바 접스팀바이라스 대단 제스트메 도와줘 람템바 뭐지 템바이베 담저 년바당 수신이래죠 담바 산제단 산제 년도 시제 도데데 요가 지유스 년징서 강이래지는 녀몬디 버체치 미과 이래치버체 너 산제 군조를 접선에 네 산제에게 송바데라 네 최 송바당 년바당 아니 담제 출시도 도와당 아니 최셰 산제 년바당 퇴바되게데 녀몬 타베체도 인 300원에다 산제라 군조라야 라부 요레스 랍자 티레스라 미과이라 쳐봐 산제라 미용데 어딘데 이제 오래선도 테스트하면
Yeah, the number mayimba giya wacheko marwa.
The all ligre.
The all
Good the mangala chuma the ligre.
Ala these
sonam
matenere.
Duale chuma de. Dela san shizini lesson the damoni ju tambala dembas. Ju tambala dembas. Sanje.
Okay.
Tanda duale chuma labja share the ju tambala demba. Sanje la jaws some lam dembala jaws timba. 산제를 접선 인자 수수 남동년이 다 산제 구원한 시 전국에 다 돈다 코데오셔나.
Okay, so going for refuge through commitment to upholding the Buddha as the teacher of refuge. So when you see the qualities of Buddha, then you can commit knowing through what Buddha teaches that Buddha is valid.
다 최근적으로 접선 성용돼서 롱단 독배 쳐라 원버전 롱도가 쳐라 원버전 봐. 안데다 제스트메 도와셔야돼. 저 라보고 요레스다. 롱다 독배 다니러와 최근적으로 어디 가래. 롱 되네습니다. 네. Tokwa lawa sumjiwa ta di zo labgu yore sumwa.
And following the cancer,
Duwa le chunga. Duwa le chunga ko khoran dola. Kyab sumwa duwa le nyi duwa le chunga na menga le chunga. Tagarang tanda tagarang. Labja.
Oh yeah, I apologize. So here we go. So first set of instructions about how to rely on the precepts. One comes from the Compendium of Determinations, and then there's another oral tradition. So the first one is, so first we said we rely on the Buddhas as excellent persons because we see their qualities and you uphold them as your teacher.
Sanje kungo yin.
By seeing them as having those qualities.
Ruwa danga ranzo sanje pena sanje sheje na nkalo chue sungro chi la urwa.
Yeah.
Chue sungya de ta tanda de dun ma sung shen jo ta garang re ruwa. Dirwa di chen sungu yora.
Yeah, so if a Buddha were to come, what would we do? We would request them to teach, and they would teach nothing other than that. The Dharma.
Ta chue la kyab sungwe lungdan tokwe chue la ngomba duwa yin la sa. Te dan jes tumbe duwa. Lungdan tokwa. Lung denwe sum lawa. Denwe sum. Ani lawa sum di ta chue kunjo ngwe re. Te dan jes tumba ta nga ranzo. Te dan jes tumba labgu yorwa nganzo. Odi shegi yorta.
And then listening to the sublime teachings in terms of the precepts, we have to follow what is taught in the collections of scripture and insight as defined by the Tripitaka. These three collections of things, Vinaya, Sutra, wisdom.
Kindula kyab sungwa ni ta nyangdes chube kansan di thos zimbo res. Te dan jes tumba. Ani tarwe che di shubwa la tumba logo res. Nganzo tarwa. Nganzo ki da chue che di tarwa tabe che di. Da zo labgu gu yo res labja diri da.
Okay, and you should practice in accordance with the teachings on nirvana. When you have gone to the community for refuge, this is the next one, you have taken companions who are on the path to liberation.
Te chi kona ya guda tu yun yongda member sungu da ra.
Yeah.
De menga le chungwa de ne de so dan tumu ya labja. Tangbo la ka labja tu labja sta tu yun nganzo she dre.
Yeah, so then these are coming up to what to do and what not to do. So there are proscriptive precepts and prescriptive precepts.
Social abjas kagwel abja she yundu ne social sanje chu kunju kunjo sanje kunjo le jobs tome ani to midik jigdem bada jigdem bel hala da jobs din chogo yo mare ro.
Now first with regards to the things that one shouldn't do with the Buddha jewel, once you have taken Buddha as one's teacher, not to go for refuge to worldly deities, non-Buddhist and so forth, Rudra, Vishnu, whatever.
Da dine ani chugunjo la jobs tome ani tundu la ya ne semje la chawa chawa tanda kagwel abja ro chawa chawa ka ures ro.
Having gone to refuge to the second sublime jewel of Dharma, abandoning harming any living being, animals and so forth.
Kindu kunjo la jobs so yundu ani to mudik je na to wa me ro.
Yeah, and then you validate Sangha community, you don't follow non-Buddhist or follow what they say, isn't it?
Da 단다라고 있는 건저 백 룩하고 쉬우래다데. 무디고 뭐 nganzo chöme 님도 되더라데.
Yeah.
무디벌에도 그러다. 무디벌이나 겨워시면 이제요. 다 겨워시면 거나 이제 매님도 되더라. 자승 보셔로다.
This last point is quite a tricky area for us. We're kind of people with us that don't really, I guess you could say they're not strictly Buddhist and they might not believe future lives and these other things, so that could have an effect on us.
다디 저디 갈라고 그래서는 이제 지겨 다 콘솔게 계적 가르치신 요데 다 딩산 뉴스를 이제 마쳐 나시 콘솔레 이제 전에 아니 라그로 레데 로 렌데요 말에 군조 거버라나 냥가도 와로 로 렌데요 말 군조 선은 렌데 메 차로라
Yeah.
안델레 이제 전에 근데 저게 낭배 제마지 수수랑으로 낭배 제사는 낭배 팀도 기억을 안 가라서 뉴질랜드 시티즌 제마지 라오라 제사는 대팀 기억으로 되나시 낭바 제마지 라오라 제사는 그 팀도 기억으로 하자 근데 낭바 제사는 랜델 이제도 군조선라 오늘 잡스 도고 여러 다 지금 고보 여러라나 랜델 사사로라 근데 마제 다 세치마야 말 세디지고 삼다울라나 아니 사사다 냥가도 하시다 이지 이지 로데 제규요 말해서 남들 남자나라 된들 송요 다데 딱다 테브러 지어다
So then this has meant that when you are talking with others who don't believe in things such as future lives or cause and effect, you hear what they say, but you don't believe it. Like you might listen to the news these days, but you don't have to believe it all. Of course, there in the future, there are people who don't believe in future lives and the law of behavior or cause and effect, those sorts of things. So there's a danger that if we associate, we could go down that path. Or even once you say God made it, you've controverted the law or the conviction in the law of behavioral cause and effect. Of course, whether you're Buddhist or not, you're free to decide that. But once you do decide to be Buddhist, you have to accept that there is this validity about karma, the law of cause and effect, and that the three jewels are valid, future lives are valid, and so forth. Because if you don't accept that, immediately you controvert having become a Buddhist. It would be like once you become a New Zealand citizen, it's kind of like you're bound to uphold the laws of New Zealand. But if you suddenly follow or believe in God, and then it's like you've controverted the possibility of future lives and karma and so forth. So we have to take care around it. That's all.
다진에 가괴랍제듯이 두배랍제 가서나 산제라 잡선에 산제 주고수 리모트벨을 저절라 아니 랭예 여마 쳐버지 지고지 양게 두시샤고다 당아도 디 쳐절을 년가 쳐보도 와 구단한테 내면 낭매 체제 여기시 야가도서 야샤 비타 규제다야 말아 오늘시는 지고지 양으로
The prescriptive precepts, things we should do, things we should accomplish, the first one is to treat images of the Buddha with respect, with reverence. It is more important for us living in a Dharma center, because we could think, that statue's not as good as the other one. So pay it less attention. That's something we should not do.
먼저 그 컨데스톤에 지부직장이 태워 마셔나나 그 방법 제기회나 그 낭매 쇼로에 년가도 알아.
Yeah.
It's substantial 당하서.
Yeah, so if we don't treat our figures equally as symbols of the enlightened one, there's a danger that we'll be poor in the future as a result.
good 야고도 마도 텐데스지요 말해서 그래.
Yeah.
먼저 레타는 그 상마 찍고 제거로 소와디 야고 쓰도 라브리비디 야고 티도 미도 라고 디디고 라브리비디 락제 야고 요사 말했어.
Yeah.
내라는 티콩고이네 지르미 그 야고 레머리 라요 말어.
One doesn't criticize the holy object because when our karma is purified, when we have pure view, all will be Buddha. But what you can do is, you can say, well, the workmanship there is not too good by the person who made it. You can do that.
다드네 추군조라 껴서면 다 람림 나라다 배 특제 시인제를 송을 다디 가고 싶어 찾아를 등산 좀 문이라고 찾아라. 그봐? 이게 아니 인지 얘기나래
I
대배
see.
얘기는 이거 가려나 원해서는 지금 따고다 인지 얘기다네 간다 대인다 한국다 따드람 담은다 한국들라 요 우수들라 요 가와이네 요르바 다도서 도미니오로 찾아 도미니에 제와세 도미니에 제와를 가서 땅안서 추억이 특제로 추억 특제 추억이 뭐라서 전화서 남아 버닝인지 라고도 하는데 도와된다 단다 먼저 다져야 빼 냥가 쳐뭐 다져야 냥가 차네 듣고 메다로 점마샤나나 다디 세간을 사도지 다 개와사게 디고사게 하고 싶으면 안 하고도 배자단데 아니 발로든데 잡지 몽돌라 로다 디제 주 룩질라 샤니 딜레야 예다마당 되서 나도 때 아니 배제도서 봐 메다 잡샤 디 닝버도서 봐 메다 잡샤위나 메다 잡에 내가블라 디난게 조제디 제디 아니 지 다신다 된데 할하모든데 용제 두저게 전다디 콘조야 키당아 슈동버지 메다 잡게 요 텐샤나 아니 디고르다 때디 먼저 라렘 달마토는 냥가 사업에도 와라
Not showing disrespect to the writings of the teachings, even if it's as little as four words. It's these days this one is quite difficult for us with all of the Dharma that is around in the Dharma Center as well. Because we put our feet over things we perhaps shouldn't, or point them. We step on things, and things tend to get neglected. Okay, so I know there is the case where if things have been photocopied or copied that have gotten old, they should be burnt in a particular way. That is there. But there's also a danger with the prayer flags getting old and being strewn all over the place, that we could walk on those letters as well. So what happens there is, if we don't take care, we've lost the ability to discriminate between what is virtuous and what is non-virtuous. And that would be not good. So when the old things have to be destroyed, then of course the old photocopies and so forth, we should burn them with the appropriate mantras, offering them to the goddesses, thinking that they are becoming no more when we burn them, and we can dedicate that. That would be okay, but we have to take care. I was thinking on emptiness, sorry.
다드네 긴두군저라 잡성연두야 템바 마시 순지라 다야 디에 두문이 비차자 마보다 세불람나라 마보 세우 상마야 고간샤 다 두문이 버차 와 모델 국자 마보레 한국 티 마보레 한국 마보레 다 가디 한국 걸샤르네 한국 걸샤르네 냠바레 라그라 다드스 다 두문이 비차자라 단데 두줄 다 딩상 다또 긴두기 비주치야 두zo 아니 야 지금 토살라 샤야다 두즈다 치도나 야고 여러지나 제바 덕버시나 렘바마시 춘제 송어라 감응야마 까담게시도 렘바마시 춘제라 아니 베 수수문에 긴두군조지 섬제 베데 이제체 야간을 샤게 여러다 뭐마다 마부다 세부 콤보로 다 딩산다 마부 세부다 베칸 남두 국자 마우르 바스 국자 마우르리 다디데 아니 가사단데 지제디 베 건조 미첨보로 돼서 이디네 사데 마부딩가시거든 사 마부딩 다 여말이잖아요. 그래서 두머니에 잡아차다로 다 긴두베 농제야를 함답 남사 마부도 세워도절로 독지마데버셔로 독지 강배월로 고미마데버셔파 사자사단 강한다 데레샤 쿠샤 소 케지슈 수수심게 리스펙트 말아치고다 근데 케지슈 디베드 낭메다나 아니 셈나래야 쿠샵 켜면 jochana 아니 셈나라 디요말 가서래 좋아로다 직 셈나라 직 요마다 간다 처러지 요마다 정말로 처면 여러 정말로 통사로 배 남이 당시로 정말로 디간서 냥가 차보도 와데 주조라다 저나 주조데스 서치도나 야고요로
So not the next precept is to not disrespect or despise members of the Sangha community or renunciates. This was really taken to heart by the Kadampa masters, who, when they saw even a piece of red robe or yellow robe, would pick it up from the road and place it on their heads. But then these days everything has become again quite mixed. So there's red and yellow everywhere. On the shoes, on the seats of buses, in planes, and so forth. So
one time in the Switzerland, you know, and Italy to Switzerland, and they turn. I think we have all chairs covers red, you know. Then I think if you sit follow all chairs empty. Then I'm wait to the cook bottle, lembado, cheza charo. Chezanda dira ani hango mawu kon, ro? Usu mawu kon, ro? Tajanda. Chezanda da dirik does kenzaro chito cheza.
The trimmed it, eh?
Da do manube chewa dozo da ngazo do to marwa.
Allora.
Dozo yudan tyugi yote de dogura da yutu gurwa. Do manube chewa sa ji duwe na la yor do manube chewa la chi. Do manube chewa de do de na da yongo maro ko ngoy ne judan tungu dogo yoro. 그래서 뭐 이니줄 된다 단다 비지 내나는 있어요 남들라잖아 긴두기 남살이야다 니 90제 또 저게 주의 심 리스펙트 저거고 있던다 도도들이 따로
Really it comes down to showing respect mentally to the ordained and never disrespecting them. This third prescriptive precept in the Vinaya, it talks about certain things we have to do according to the situation. So, you know, like you do your best, but if the situation is extreme and you can't do that, then it's okay not to do it. That seems to be what it said.
그래서
Yeah.
다들 투모에 랍자데 티레 먼저 추바 지사 지부기 추바 푸바와 당은저 추바 뒤긴 푸고야 디 태우스를 살마다 마시 안딜 카시 태고로 이제 지용은 배 삼남다게 추바 푸고래 추바도스로와 아니래 아직 추바 삼남다게 추바 부여 수수 자동구의 날 추동구의 날 가래 동구의 날 추바 푸고야 디 계정 모시지 겸들 랍자래 랍자 팀다 그것은 소남사고요다 수술을 팬도요.
Then the general precepts are that when you eat food or drink, you have to offer the first portion to the three rest sublime ones. So this is the advice of one we've taken refuge, and we do this to accumulate merit and show respect to the qualities, Buddha Dhamma Sangha.
And 내 니렌숨다 천렌숨디 템바스다. 다데 쇼베 잠로 산제쇼도 살숨된 권다 살숨된 거다 중나다 튠된 거다 다데 가고 차고 세상 언제 되긴 참제 튠죽대기도 어디인지 니매공 튠숨다 천그 튠숨이 몇개저러 와디
야
선된데 델로도서 nen가 여러 와 세상다 하나도 된데 용거다 딩삼이 답되어 쓰는지 잠로 쇼베 살숨된 권다 살숨된 데 니네 숨 천렌 숨 랍자디 되고 또 개지주디 다 스스 심라 탱고라 야네 yan들어
This, by recalling the distinctions of the three rest sublime ones and taking refuge in them again and again, really means 3 times in the morning and 3 times at night, which is why we have succession. Well, these days it's been put together so we can do it quite easily. But what's the real point of it is that you recall again and again the qualities of the three rest sublime ones. And go for refuge in them. Oh yeah, we should stop and go through the text, and then we'll exactly conclude the lesson.
Yeah.
So beginning on the bottom of page 5, it stands at 14. Until you attain a body of pure characteristics,
you will not make progress in your practice of the Supreme Path. Train in the causes for becoming free of those impurities. It's particularly important, karmic obscurations. Therefore, continuously cherish reliance on purification with the 4 forces. If you do not put effort into contemplating true sufferings, the faults of samsara, you will not understand how to cut the roots of samsara. Therefore, rely on weariness, definite emergence from samsara, and cherish the knowledge of what binds you to samsara. You, the perfect Guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. The generation of the mind is the central post of the Mahayana path. To the great waves of conduct.
Philosopher's stone transforming all into having understood this, the heroic
You, the perfect Guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. Generosity is a wish-fulfilling jewel, satisfying the hopes of transmigratory beings. Cutting the knot of idleness, the activity of the children of conquerors that strengthens courage without. 10 directions. Having understood this, on the excellent path, knowing their place, positions, and virtues, Guru practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. Practiced in this way. Powerful, supreme of all hardships, counteracting the torment of the afflictions. Fikama against the weapon of false speech. Having understood this, cultivate the armor of supreme patience in many ways. Guru practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. When you don increase like the waxing moon, all your behavior becomes meaningful, and whatever actions you undertaken will be accomplished as desired. Understood this, the conqueror's children put forth billowing waves of effort, dispelling all uneasiness. Practiced in this way, will also practice in this way. Concentration is the king ruling the mind. When placed, it is immovable as Mount Meru. When sent forth, it engages in all virtuous objects. It induces the great bliss of a serviceable body and mind. Having understood this, the Lord continuously on the meditative stabilization that destroys the enemy distraction.
Perfect Guru practiced in this way.
I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way.
Wisdom is an eye
seeing profound thusness, eradicating the root of existence,
a treasury of qualities
praised in all scriptures,
and renowned as the supreme of lamps, dispelling the darkness of ignorance.
Having understood this, the wise who desire liberation generate the path with much effort.
You, the perfect Guru,
practiced in this way.
I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way.
One-pointed concentration alone is not considered to be able to cut the roots of samsara. Wisdom separated from the path of karma abiding will not avert affliction. On the real mode of existence, upon the horse of steadfast karma abiding, with the sharp weapon of the logic of the middle way free of extremes, destroy all mental fabrications, grasping at extremes. With vast wisdom analyzing in this way, increase the wisdom that realizes thusness. I, who am seeking liberation, will also practice in this way. The meditative stabilization achieved by one-pointed meditation is not enough. Investigation, proper analysis. Generate the meditative stabilization that abides firm and immovable in the mode of existence. Having seen this, understand how wonderful. You, the perfect Guru, practiced in this way. I, who am seeking liberation, one also practiced in this way. In meditative equipoise, emptiness is like space. Emptiness is like an illusion. Through meditation on both effort and wisdom are unified.
Whereby the perfect conduct of the calm nostril is praised, having realized this,
Tradition of those with good fortune is not satisfied by
the perfect Guru practiced in this way. I who am seeking liberation will also practice in this way. Having generated the common path necessary for the two supreme Mahayana paths,
the
will
causal and
strive
resultant. Rely on a protector, skillful master, and enter the great ocean of the classes of Tantra through reliance on complete perfect instructions.
make the intellectual qualities and endowments meaningful. You, the perfect
Guru
Guru,
practiced
practiced
in
in
this
this
way.
way. I who am seeking liberation
Will also practice in this way. Due to the virtue from explaining in clear words.
the perfect complete path, pleasing to the conquerors, so as to
Familiarize
purify
it
the
with
mind and to benefit others with good fortune. I make the prayer.
May all transmigratory beings never be parted from the excellent pure path.
You, the perfect Guru, practiced in this way. I who am seeking liberation will also practice in this way. To page 31 for the short mandala. Sashi poke joshe gampade sange jingdu mingke luagi droko namda jingla joka jetsa lade kose rate jing naka tule chokcho gampara lo samken me durpe saso pi drowe mosa tato me gushi Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamvidiyata. Page 33 for prayers of dedication. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Whatever slight positive potential I may have created, by paying homage, offering and acknowledging my faults, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddha stay changed, I now dedicate all this before awakening. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious one thus fallen 3 times, so that I might perform the miracle by the seventh spirit. May the King of Dharmas on countless way of Dharma practice flourish. May the omens of obstacles be pacified, and all the conducive circumstances be complete. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech. May all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savouring the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, it makes extremely clear the path that is the unification of emptiness and completion. To the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously